Signal with Benjamin Lyles.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Maker Signal. I'm Benjamin Lyles, and today I wanted to do something a little lighter. Nothing super heavy, nothing where I'm trying to solve the future of artificial intelligence or explain the meaning of creativity for all mankind. Today I just want to ask a simple question. What kind of a creator are you? Because I've started realizing that people create in very different ways. Some people are really good at starting. Some people are really good at finishing. Some people love experimenting, like I do. Some people love structure, same again. Some people will work on one thing for 6 months. Some people will start 6 things before lunch. And honestly, I think most of us are probably a weird combination of several of these. So I thought it would be fun to go through a few creator types and see which one sounds most like you. And yes, I'm probably going to call myself out a few times in this episode too. I've already named 2 so far. Let's start with the starter. The starter has ideas. I know I do. A lot of ideas. Like way too many ideas. They'll wake up with a new idea for a song. Guilty. Then while working on that, they get an idea for a book. Guilty. Then while writing that down, they think, you know what would be interesting? A podcast. And then while setting up the podcast, they think, I should build an app for this. And suddenly there are 12 projects open and none of them are finished. Now, once upon a time, that would have probably been true. The starter is fun because they bring energy, and I admit I do bring energy. I also have a friend whose name is Calvin Richard, except he knows how to finish, but he always brings a ton of energy. And I don't understand where he gets that kind of energy. Well, yeah, I do. He's fit for one. Me, I don't mean to have this kind of weight on me. I used to be a lot skinnier. But anyway, that's besides the point. We just see possibilities everywhere. The danger is that eventually you do have to finish something. At some point the idea has to leave your head and become a real thing. And so if you're the starter like I am, the challenge may not be creativity, your challenge may be completion. And yeah, I'm saying that to myself too. I'm gonna finish what I'm wanting to say about that about myself, because I do tend to start things, but I've mapped out how I want things to go for the rest of this year, and I've pretty much mapped out everything that I want to do. The only odd duck is right down here. Let me bring my finger back over. I'm trying to get this right. Where it says episode 10, October 31st. October 31st. Oh, I'm sorry. Episode 11, October 31st. That's the odd duck. That will air on a Sunday instead of a Thursday. Then you have the Perfectionist. The Perfectionist actually has something good. It might already be really good, but they're still tweaking it, still adjusting it, still changing one word, still moving one graphic 3 pixels to the left. I kind of did that with my last episode, so I could get things working the way I had. Still saying it's almost ready. Meanwhile, 3 months have passed. The Perfectionist cares. That's the good part. They want the work to be right. The problem isn't that right can become never finished. At some point, you have to decide, this is good enough to release. That doesn't mean careless. It just means done. And honestly, sometimes you learn more by releasing something than by polishing it forever. I've been there. I've worked on music that I didn't think I'd ever release. My dad gave me advice before he had passed away. He said, Benny, don't ever stop working on your music, do something with it. Get it published. Most of my music that I write is legally mine. So technically, all my lyrics, all my music is published. Hands down, it's published. The Experimenter. Again, guilty. This person loves trying things. New tools, new genres, new software, new styles, new formats. They'll say, I've never done that before. And instead of that being a reason not to do it, that's exactly why they want to try it. I definitely understand this one, because sometimes I'll look at something and think, I wonder if I could do that. And that question alone is enough to send me down a rabbit hole. And this is the truth, because it's funny, because I was watching Kirk Cameron looking back at some of his old footage from Growing Pains and other roles he's taken, and it got me thinking. I've got this equipment at home, my podcast, streaming stuff, and I've been thinking to myself, I rarely use what is mine. Let me do this so I sound a little bit better. And, it's dawned on me. I've got this stuff. I'm not really actively using it. What benefit of it is to me if I've got the equipment but I'm not using it? So, I just wonder if I could do that kind of thing. And that question alone is enough to send me down a rabbit hole. I just said that. The Experimenter is great at discovering things. The danger is getting distracted by the new thing before the old thing has had time to grow. So the challenge here is experiment. Absolutely. But don't confuse novelty with progress. Then you have the builder. The builder loves systems. They like figuring out how something works, how the pieces fit together, how to make a process better, how to automate something, how to organize things. This is the person who can spend an hour creating a system to save 5 minutes. I've been there, I've done that. Yes, that is honestly me. Sometimes that's brilliant, and sometimes it is absolutely ridiculous. The builder usually thinks, if I can understand the structure, I can make this better. That shows up in programming, it shows up in writing, it shows up in music, it shows up in production. I can overproduce something for myself, and by the end of it, I'm thinking that was exhausting. I think I just did 30 takes. It even shows up in how you plan a podcast season. Like I said, I've got mine fully planned out. Sorry for hiding my face. The danger with the builder is that the system can become more interesting than the thing you were trying to make. So eventually you have to remember, the system is supposed to serve the work, not replace it. I love this about this next part. I've heard my grandmother, before she passed away, I'm a lot like her. I've got stories, so there's going to be a lot of truth to this in a second. Then there's the storyteller. If you figured out where I was going with that, the storyteller cares about meaning, emotion, character, why something matters. They don't just want to make something that works. They want to make something that connects. This can be a songwriter, a filmmaker, a writer. I've written about two films of my own. There's a version of Grease. It's a prequel to Grease, actually, called Rizzo. And the other one is a biography of sorts. It's a biopic on Michael Jackson. Kind of fictionalized, though. So I'm going to be honest about that. But that's two film scripts that I've written. A writer, a speaker, a podcaster, anybody who thinks, what do I want somebody to feel when this is over? The storyteller can make things memorable. But sometimes they can also overthink everything. I know I tend to overthink a lot. Not every creative decision needs a deep symbolic meaning. Sometimes the blue button is just blue. That reminds me of a movie. And that's okay. And then we have the finisher. I think this one deserves more respect. The finisher may not always have the biggest idea. They may not be the loudest person in the room. They may not spend forever talking about the process, but they finish. My pastor, Ross, he is a finisher. They ship, they publish, they release, they move on. And that is a skill because the world is full of brilliant unfinished ideas. The finisher understands something important. An imperfect thing that exists can do more than a perfect thing that never leaves your hard drive. There's a lesson I think every creator has to learn eventually. Now here's the fun part. You're probably not just one of these. I'm definitely not. I'd say I'm probably some combination of the starter, the experimenter, the builder, and depending on the project, a little bit of the perfectionist too. No, I hands down am a perfectionist. I'll admit that. Which is a very dangerous combination, by the way, because that means I can start something new, build an entire system around it, experiment with 5 versions, and then spend too long deciding which one to release. This is true. But this is true. This is extremely efficient at being inefficient. But that's part of the point. Knowing how you create helps you understand where you tend to get stuck. If you're the starter, maybe you tend to finish more. If you're the perfectionist, maybe you need to release sooner. If you're the experimenter, maybe you need to stay with one thing longer. If you're the storyteller, maybe you need to stop trying to make every detail profound. If you're the finisher, honestly, congratulations. I've been doing this for just a few days now, and I'm already seeing the finish line at the very end when I can actually say, I finished season 1 of my podcast. Look for almost everything to be up by this next Friday, because I do release to my own YouTube channel. The rest of us are slightly annoyed with you if you're the finisher. Here's the part I think actually matters. There isn't one correct way to be creative. You don't need to create exactly the way somebody else does. You don't need the same process, the same schedule, the same tools, the same personality. What matters is learning yourself well enough to know what helps me make something. What gets in my way? Where do I usually stop? Where do I need discipline? Where do I need freedom? That's useful. Because once you know your tendencies, you can work with them instead of constantly fighting yourself. So now I want to hear from you. Which one are you? The starter? The perfectionist? The experimenter? The builder? The storyteller? The finisher? Or some strange combination of all of them? I know I am. Leave a comment and tell me. And if I missed a great creator type completely, tell me that too. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2. I'm Benjamin Lyles. This is the Maker Signal. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me and whatever kind of creator you are. Go make something. I'll see you in the next one.